Welcome to Country, and you've got some figures that you managed to get hold of that show exactly how much people are paying for Welcome to Country ceremonies, and a lot of that money is being spent in Parliament House in Canberra.
Well, a lot of departments are not just spending taxpayer money, they're not being transparent about it. It's very difficult to get the figures. They're either saying it's too culturally sensitive for us to release this information, or when they're even asked about it in Senate estimates, half of them didn't come back with a response. 2 other departments said we can't provide you the figures. Of the remaining departments, less than half, they spent about $40,000 on Welcome to Country ceremonies, but at a rate that is so inflated beyond in the ACT, which is where most of these ceremonies take place in Canberra when we're talking about federal departments.
Don't forget Melbourne.
Yeah, well,
I know someone who works in a government department in Melbourne. They had 5 different meetings in one day, and they had 5 different smoking ceremonies.
Well, look, in the ACT itself, the government advises $350 for a Welcome to Country ceremony, whereas we found out the average, it goes to the Indigenous elders or the Indigenous group, but they are welcome to set the fee. There's no legislated fee, so they can determine whatever fee they think is appropriate. The ACT government says $350 is appropriate, whereas our taxpayer money in federal departments is as high on average as $933. So
Barnaby,
we're 2.5 times.
Was this happening when you were in government?
Yeah, I'd say so.
When you were a minister, you were signing cheques for this stuff.
I don't want to get distracted by Welcome to Country. I want to get absolutely focused on making sure the most substantive change to our constitution does not get up, because it'll be really detrimental. And I think if I get sidelined in worrying about Welcome to Country, then ultimately people will start sort of trying to move the agenda away from the facts. We're trying to focus this referendum on the facts. Now, as far as Welcome to Country goes, I suppose one of the issues I have is when did we start saying, I'd like to, pay my respect to elders past, present and emerging? Who was the first person to say that? Like, if I look up Trove, was that said in my area by the Dungutty people or by the Goomeri people or by Anowin? I don't know. I mean, for me, it's, hello, Yum Malia. That's Camilla around here. And Yene Be'ami Barai is probably one of the salutations, which actually translate to as close to is walk with God. But we certainly don't say that in Parliament House.
Sam, what do you make of these?
Look,
are there too many of them? I mean, I made a point last night that that they have a time and place, but I think they're done so frequently now that they're losing their impact.
Yeah, maybe. I'm in full agreement to one point with Carolyn that these figures should be public. We should know where every dollar of taxpayer funds goes, with the exception of national security. I actually have the view that I would love to see more of them, but bigger ones.
More?
But bigger ones, like proper smoking ceremonies, proper dance ceremonies, proper big things that celebrate
where?
Before Parliament starts.
No, but at big openings and big festivals, I like seeing,
Yeah, but that happens. I mean,
guys out
I
with
went to the Indigenous round at the AFL at the MCG. Auntie Joy's always there.
Those big things. I think that's a great festival. I think it's a great spectacle. I think that's a really positive thing to say. This is.
But should public service meetings, in the education department?
I'm not saying the education department opens each day with a didgeridoo playing and a dance troupe. No, I'm not saying that.
They probably do.
A lot of their community events clearly do involve these events, and I mean, I think the Broken Hill City Council brought up an interesting point. The mayor there said we're not paying for these ceremonies anymore, because if it was a true welcome, we wouldn't have to pay for a welcome. That's just a paid statement. It's not a genuine welcome. Now, I'm not sure if I'd go that far, because a lot of these Indigenous elders, this is how they make a living.
Yeah. Rightly
or wrongly, that's their job.
Well, if they can make a buck out of it, I don't have a problem. It's the people paying the taxpayers' money.
Exactly, and there should be some scrutiny of how much is being paid. I think the other issue Australians are getting sick of, and it's one that Senator James McGrath brought up when I was interviewing him for the story, because he brought up the questions in Senate estimates, is that a lot of the time Welcome to Country is now being used to push political statements about the voice. So while Barnaby doesn't think we should concern ourselves with it, it is being used perhaps by some as a vehicle.
That's a good
pushing
point,
political
Barnaby. I've
points.
seen a couple of these now where there's a little speech about the voice added onto the end of it.
And a lot of them, there's a speech about the voice added onto it. I suppose the classic one was the State of Origin down in Adelaide, where the gentleman at the end said it's all about and he sounded the union. The problem was it was at a rugby league game. But anyway, it's look, it's very much like the Yes 23 sticker on the side of the Qantas planes when you get on it. When these things are too protracted and too elongated, they annoy people, and everybody politely goes away and says things in their safe circle about how they actually feel about it. People do get annoyed being welcomed to their own country. Like for veterans, and as Veterans Affairs Minister, they're saying, look, you don't have to welcome me to the country that I offered my life to protect. Take it for granted. My family fought for this country, and other people saying, well, my father, grandfather, granduncle's brother, they've defended this country, and you don't have to welcome us here. You can pay the respect that is our families. Is we put our lives on the line for the protection of this nation.